I've got a whole list of questions, but I won't ask them all because I reckon I'll be here for the full 10 minutes. Joe, I might just start by asking you a series of questions about CFE. I'm not going to pronounce the full words because I'd have trouble with it the same as everybody else. From the sound of your presentation, it sounds like it's public, it's available in supermarkets. That's right. Okay, and what's the price that you're paying for it?
So you can get it through the internet, you can get it off the shelf. I've found a couple of different versions here. There's one called Reductor and another called Swiss. The Swiss one I find doesn't work as well as the Reductor, and I must put it out there that I have never ever been paid by any one of these companies, and anybody who says that, that is a lie. But no, there was a rumour going around. So it's about $1 a day for Caralluma fimbriata, I think. It depends on your dose, and I wouldn't, not being a doctor as yet, and also, I mean, paediatricians are probably not going to give you a dose because my paper's not out yet either. But there is a recommended adult dose, which is 1,000 milligrams per day. But I do know of 16 people who are taking this treatment on a high dose.
Okay, that answers one of my other questions. The other one was, it's unlikely to be prescribed by a medical practitioner, is that right?
At this stage, we'd have to look at the, wait until we see the publication, and I'm not, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's it. That were all my questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got another question for the cactus lady here.
That was my name in Cambridge.
I'm sure I'm not the first one
who's
called
I
you
don't
that.
mind, I like it.
Can you tell us about the mechanism of how it works and also any known side effects?
So side effects were quite minimal in adults, not Prader-Willi adults, but people had bloating and things like that. In our cohort, there were no recorded side effects. So, and I've had my daughter's blood work done over her 8 years of having this treatment. There's been no side effects within it. The only thing is that it has gone up in dose over the time.
And the mechanism?
Mechanism. So that's why I'm looking at the SNORD 116 mouse model. I am unsure actually. I'm hoping I will find out. I'm looking for a vagus nerve. I'm looking for fatty acid signaling, glucose signaling, and also looking at the melanocortin system, which is, I think, is where we're going to find some interest.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to ask a question of our lovely Bright principal. You said that we should be collecting information from birth.
Yes.
What kind of information would you be interested in seeing of a new student?
The developmental history, so from when the bub is in utero, your pregnancy, right through to the day they arrive at school. Any information that you have, we collect all information from, as I said, birth to when they start school. So if they've been seeing an occupational therapist and you already have an OT report, the most current reports are the ones that we rely on. But even if you have, you know, an older report, we use everything. It shows that there has been a history since birth and how proactive the parents have been and what information that you're able to provide.
And is that just at your school, or is that part of the
That would be the common practice
application?
across all schools.
Okay. And is that required for the applications, or just for the understanding of the school?
No, for the application. However, having said that, if you don't have, you know, say your child has only been diagnosed and your child is 5 and you haven't got the history, then you haven't got it. So we work with what we have. But if you've got information, the more you can provide, the better it is, because we draw upon everything we can. But if you haven't had speech involvement, you haven't had OT involvement, you haven't been to a paediatrician, I'd find it difficult to believe that there wouldn't be any involvement. But if that is the case, and I have had children, not with PWS, but with other disabilities, I have had children who have arrived and they haven't got any history with them. But the more, I mean, you are obviously very informed people here. You're here because you have a child with PWS, and if you can just keep whatever information that you have to present to the school. And there might be things that we don't need, and we'll say thank you very much. It's great that, you know, your child has been to the dentist every 12 months or something. That's great, but we don't need that bit of information.
Okay, one other quick question. My son's due to start school next year. At what stage should I be looking around at schools and meeting?
Right now.
Right now.
Right now. Right now. Yes. Yeah. I'd be doing that tomorrow morning, really.
Okay.
Start making the phone calls, yes. Now's the perfect time.
There's very good books put out. If you're in Victoria, there's very good...
one of your patients. Well, my son is one of your patients.
Yes. Okay.
So I'm in Victoria, yes.
Yes, sorry, because I've been away. Well, if you, I'll post out some books from the Association for Children with Disability, which really will help you with your planning for going to school. But yes, I've been out of the hospital for a few months. Okay. But I'll take your name and I'll post those out.
I've got another question for Sue. I was fascinated to hear, at least what I thought I heard you say, was that you'd changed the way the school handled food and stuff as a result of having 2 Prader-Willi kids in prep in 2013. Absolutely amazed that you could do that. My daughter goes to school, she's in 3rd grade, and I got a little bit upset by the practice of parents bringing in birthday cakes for their sons or daughters unannounced at birthday time. And I said, I don't think this is acceptable, blah, blah. You know, I got on my high horse a little bit, completely defeated by the principal of the school. I don't think I approached it very well because I was a bit strident, and she's got far more control than I do in that environment. Anyway, I wasn't successful, but I was successful, however, in getting the teacher or someone to contact me prior to anything like that happening. And if I wasn't contacted, then my daughter wasn't able to have any of the whatever came in. I did put it in the context of anaphylactic allergic reactions though, and I said, well, what happens if something like that's in the cake? Oh, that would never happen. So I was dismissed a little bit. Can you just enlighten me on how you managed to get buy-in, particularly from the parents, but also from the staff of your school, to this revolutionary change?
Well, the revolutionary change, I wouldn't be that generous with that term. It's a daily challenge for us. We need to revisit it all the time about what our practices are. We do that at least every term through what we call our leadership advisory team. So we work together and we say, okay, we've got to remember this. Every term we go through the same information. Now, we have certainly had a greater success overall, but we still do need to make sure Jamal is supervised out in the yard, because the children are meant to take only food out in their hand that they are going to be eating, so that they don't leave any lunch boxes out there, any of their snack boxes. They were meant to all eat in the classroom. They keep creeping outside, so that's why we have to keep revisiting it. It's a challenge that will always be there, but the school needs to listen to the parents, and we, as I said, we need to work in partnership. The Great Cake Debate, if you go onto my website, onto the school's website, I have a blog, and you will read what it says. It's actually called the Great Cake Debate that we had last term. Now, you'd think, it's right up there with head lice, really. It's one of the most talked about things. And with the cakes, we decided, because cakes were coming in like jumbo-sized muffins and full-size cakes, enough for, to feed a wedding. So we said, we needed to restrict them. They could only be the mini cupcakes or the mini chocolate crackles, etc. Everything is in smaller form. We need to know when we're going to be celebrating the birthdays. We've got very active class reps who are going to be putting that information out to our families this term, because we do need to be prepared. We do need to make sure that our PWS babies, when a birthday cake or a food extravaganza, because we celebrate all of the different cultures as well, so there may be a smorgasbord. You saw one of the photos up there before showed you food, and if you have a look at it, it was pretty much very healthy. At all times, Jamal has got, we're not funded for Jamal to have support 5 days a week. That was a school decision that we made to make sure that Jamal has that time, the security for his well-being, that he has somebody with him the whole time. And when there's food about, we have Andrew and Megan and the classroom teacher who are acutely aware, okay, this is what's going to happen. Tessa and Warren, as the parents, are informed, yes, we're going to have a cultural day, there will be food being brought in. Okay, what will they do to change Jamal's eating plan for that day, and what will he be able to eat that day at school? So it's about, there will always be little slip-ups. You know, schools have got hundreds and hundreds of children, but it's about being very receptive and very understanding of the needs of the child and respecting the parents. So it is a challenge. We haven't conquered it. I don't think we ever will, but we do our best.
Can I say something? I just want to quickly just say that what happens for us is that they have the cakes, they have the lollies, whatever it might be. Mia puts it straight in her container. That container comes home and I open it up and go, oh, we had a cake today. She doesn't eat it.
I just wanted to add to that one. My daughter started prep this year. I spoke to her teachers and they were able to give me a list of days that the parties were going to happen. So that's also helped me of adjusting her diet of when a party is going to happen, and that, you know, her diet changes for that day as well. So whether, I'm not too sure if teachers are able to do that, but our teachers were able to provide a date of when the parties were going to, or could so be, parties could happen, so.
Sorry, it's really quick. Just want to say great speech by everybody. We're from New Zealand, and just particularly the exercise and the stepping stones. You obviously are talking about Australia, and they sound really good programs. It's just, is there any chance of that ever getting over to New Zealand? Both of you, because I really like the exercise programs that you've obviously got in place with student physios.
All of that information it's in the public domain, or it's in the professional domain, and yes, it could absolutely be replicated, and I'm always happy to talk to people about how it could be replicated somewhere else.
So it's not at present?
No.
Right.
But that's not to say that you couldn't take the model and use it somewhere else. It doesn't need an actual program per se. You could, with a bit of know-how, you could. It could be. It needs a little bit of funding, but it's designed so that it could be set up somewhere else.
Sweet. Awesome.
Well, we don't have funding to provide it in New Zealand at the moment, but one of the things we're measuring is the cost effectiveness of the program. So that's exactly the sort of data that information that governments will look for, and if we can demonstrate its cost effectiveness and the most cost-efficient way of delivering the program, then that's ammunition which you can take to your health authorities and government to advocate for funding for the program in New Zealand.
Okay, cheers, thanks.
My question's for Nora. Your talk was about the child, focuses on the child. Did you have a definition of a child in terms of an age group?
Yeah, up to 18, but the program, the Fit Skills program that we run, is really between 13 and 30, primarily because we use community gyms, and really it's during adolescence that it's a more, I suppose, socially acceptable thing for an adolescent to go to a gym, and it's something that they're interested in doing. So yeah, so once a child hits adolescence, that's really, yeah.
Okay, if I just brought that, our little PWS darling is 2. If I brought that right back down to that age group, just in terms of activity levels, is the normal whizzing around like a little busy bee for a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, is that adequate to burn up those calories for us to keep them on a good path of I don't know, of a good weight and keep them in the right sort of areas of their weight?
Do you mean just keeping them naturally active?
Yeah, or is there a suggestion that we need to do, like, you know, holding their hand and going for a stroll along a footpath for 50 metres, you know, once a day? Is that...
I think the key thing up till about the age of 5 is really the skill development. So it's teaching them how some of those skills that children may not naturally learn if they've got a developmental disability. So things like throwing and catching, things like hopping and skipping and jumping, and just all of those ordinary everyday things that kids should do that quite often where there is a disability they don't do, or they never learn, or nobody teaches them. So they're the kind of things. The other thing I would be starting to get in place is teaching a skill, an activity skill that can bring them through life. So something like swimming or cycling that they can equally do as an adult.
Yeah,
and
of course.
So laying the foundation early so that it becomes part of their routine.
Yeah.